Hey there. I'm going to be doing a quick review of a few linears that I put together. In particular, I wanted to compare different options for the Invyr ultra high weight molecular polyethylene that's a mouthful, UHMWPE stems in different housings to see how it felt, and also to throw in the new C3 Tangerine R2, which claims to have the UHMWPE housing. So what we're doing here, I've got a plank keyboard, and I put together a few different combinations of switches, and this is the Plank Low Pro housing. It's got a steel plate and a milled bottom here. It's got some foam on the inside, and I've got these are Signature Plastics SAP profile, so it's PBT snowcap key set. So let's go through what each of these switches are. Let's see. Sorry, I gotta get close here for a sec. All right, so this first one here is a stock C3 Tangerine that is unlubed, straight out of the box. This one here is a stock Gateron Yellow with a milky top and a black bottom. This one is the C3 Tangerine R2 lubed with 205G0 and filmed. This one here is a Yok Panda stock. No, I think I lubed that one. That one can't be filmed. The housing's just too tight to accept a film. Here we've got a cream, lubed and filmed, and then this is a stock cream right there. Then on this side of the board, we've got a C3 Tangerine. Let's see, this is lubed and filmed with the Invyr stem. Gat Yellow, lubed and filmed with the Invyr stem. And this one is a Zealios V1 housing, lubed and filmed with the Invyr stem. All of the lube here, by the way, is going to be the 205G0. Here we've got the Invyr stem in the Yok Trash Panda housing, and here we've got the Invyr stem in a cream. This one's filmed. So let's go ahead and first, hang on one second, I'm going to grab a tweezer so I can show the wobble. Okay, so here you can see the wobble on the C3 Tangerine is actually pretty low to begin with. And the yellow definitely got more play in there. It's not horrible, but you got some. Once we film it though, the C3 Tangerine really tightens up. That's nice. The Yok Trash Panda, not quite as tight as that last one, but pretty darn good. I mean, this is known to be a pretty tight housing. Then here is the Novelkeys Cream, and got some hairs on there. It'll be fine. All right, that's just annoying. So yeah, that's pretty darn tight. And then here's the stock one, and you can see it's a little bit looser, but not too bad. The creams, you really have to clamp them close to get it shot with that film. Now the Invyr stem seems to be a little bit looser than the stock stems for most of these. Not terrible, but you can see here's this one. This is going to be filmed and lubed. Not terrible. Here's the stock stem on the same, and you can see it's just a bit tighter. Now the Gat Yellow filmed with the Invyr, this is pretty loose compared to the stock one here. stock one's really not too bad there. That milky housing's pretty nice. All right, then this one's the Zealios V1 housing, and man, this thing is really slippery. It's hard to grip on. Yeah, I mean this has some side to side, not too much front to back, but side to side's not great. Let's see. Then we've got the Yok Panda with the Invyr stem. Front to back, not too bad. Side to side, also not terrible, but not great. I mean, let's see, what's the tightest one here? Probably the Tangerine. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the reference here. So you can see. And then here's the Cream. So front to back is always pretty good. Side to side seems a little bit loose. So here's the Cream with the film, and then here's the stock Cream. Okay, so let's kind of do a subjective test and figure out which of these are smoothest, at least in my opinion here. I'm going to do my best to remember which is which once I put the caps on here, but I might have to take them off. So we'll just put them on. It's probably not the best case for testing sound, but it's not terrible. I tried putting these switches in a position where they're farthest away, or they're all at least is fairly equidistant from any of the mounting points, so we can get the most uniform sound across the board with these. The Invyr stem, it's both slippery and it seems to be slightly looser, and so these caps just go on and off like a breeze. And this is going to be SAR1, so these are tall keycaps, and they're going to really exaggerate any wobble that we have here. So remember that this one here, this Tangerine Lubed and filmed, that's going to be probably our best bet. And you can see it's still not perfect, but that's not too bad. All right, so yeah, this one here, that's the Zealios. Yeah, that one's definitely got some wobble now. Okay. So that's all the switches. Gone through the wobble. Let's evaluate the smoothness then. So here we go. Just let's see. This is the stock Tangerine. So, all right, this table is gonna reverb a little bit, but not terribly. Definitely some spring ping in there. Not great. All right, so this one's going to be the stock Yellow. You know, I think I was starting to test for sound, but let's test for smoothness. All right, so the yellow is going to be definitely a bit scratchier than that Tangerine there. And then this is the Lubed and filled Tangerine, and it is really, really smooth. I mean, off axis. Yeah, that is just fantastically smooth, and that's without the Invyr stem. All right, so this is a stock Yok Panda. Yeah, it's kind of grabby and sticky in places. It's not. I mean, it's not terrible. Oh, this one is lubed. That's why it's not quite as bad as I was thinking. Yeah, it's just not, especially once you get off axis, and also the spring in that. The Yok springs are just awful. All right, so this is the Lubed Cream, and it's got that, you know, distinctive leathery feel. kind of a swoosh sound. Pretty smooth. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty nice switch. And then here's the stock cream. You can hear all sorts of spring ping. And it's really not bad smooth. I mean, these are all going to be pretty darn decent. But not the best option. Definitely want to lube that. I mean, big difference in sound. Okay, so now let's move over to the Invyr stems. So this is the Tangerine with the Invyr stem. And I definitely noticed some slipstick in there. Get off axis in there, and you definitely feel some stickiness in some things. I do not think that the Invyr stems and the C3 housings are a good match. Now, it's very smooth when you're right on axis, but I don't know if you can kind of see that when I'm off axis here, and I just kind of, it really kind of grabs the bottom there and then kind of shoots up. It's not what I would want to do. So I'm trying to figure out which housing to put all my Invyr stems in for now. I thought this might be a good option, but definitely not what I'm going to go with. So let's see. The next one is the Lubed filmed Gateron Yellow, and that's just outstanding. I mean, if you guys haven't tried the Gateron Yellow, it is definitely a nice switch. It's so affordable. It's a great switch. Put some 3204 in there or 205G0, and oh man, that's a good switch. Now you're gonna have a little bit more wobble than some of the other ones, but it's not terrible. All right, now in terms of smoothness, the Zealios housing here with the Invyr stem, lubed and filmed, I mean, this is astonishingly smooth. I mean, it's, for me, having already kind of tested these, the Zealios housing and the Invyr stem and the C3 Tangerine R2, I think the Zealios housing and the Invyr stem are going to be smoother, but they're going to have more wobble. And the Tangerine, I mean, it's like on a scale of 9 to 10 or 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, the Tangerine is probably like a 9 on smoothness, and this here is like a 9.5, where a 10 would be like a contactless switch or something like that. Honestly, I can barely feel the leaf when I'm pushing this. The Invyr stem is so smooth, it just sort of masks everything about any of these switches. It makes a huge difference. And off axis, it's nice and smooth. I wish this just wasn't so wobbly. Maybe the Zealios V2 housing would be tighter. I just don't have any of those to spare right now. Now the Yok, it's just, you can hear kind of a swooshing. It's not the best. I mean, but honestly, the Invyr stem sort of, it rights all wrongs. It's just amazing. I don't think I'd do this unless there's like an amazing sound signature. And it still has that really crunchy, like even lube, that Yok spring is just not great. You can still hear some spring crunch in there. And then this is the cream with the Invyr stem, and you know, I mean, compared to this one, this is just a regular cream, lubed and filmed. It's smoother. It's definitely smoother. You can still get some of that leathery feel and that kind of swooshing sound that is characteristic of the creams. I don't know. I think that's probably a matter of preference. If you really like that feel of the creams, that's not a bad way to go. And you know, I forget which spring I put in the Zealios here. I think that's the 67 gram gold spring in that one. Let me just see if I can see it. Can't really see it from here. So they're all fairly similar in weight. You know, the Gateron Yellow has that linear spring, whereas the creams are going to have a more progressive spring. So in terms of smoothness, I would say the Zealios housing with the Invyr stem is probably the best. And then it's kind of a toss-up with the cream. I think I prefer not having that kind of leathery feel, but you know, it's so unique. If you haven't tried creams, you really should. They're a great switch. But I guess very slightly I would prefer the Zealios, and then the cream, and then the Lubed filmed Tangerine is just fantastic, and that's without the Invyr stem. So I guess I'll kind of put those in different categories. So if you are looking for the right housing for the Invyr stem, I don't think you can go wrong with the creams. And if you have my guess is it has to do with having a very hard surface to rub against. So you have the stem, the lube, and then a very, very hard surface. I think that's the best combination for these Invyr stems. All right, so let's do just some sound testing here. So we'll start with the stock Tangerine. Now it's got some spring ping in there. I'm just gonna try to hold the table as much as I can so we're not getting any reverb. Definitely got some spring ping in it, but not terrible. So this is going to be, gosh, what is this one? Oh, this is gonna be the stock yellow. This is milky housing, milky top, black bottom. A little bit higher pitched than the Tangerine. A little more of a click than a clack. This is going to be a lubed Tangerine here. Compared to the original Tangerine, definitely a lower pitch. This sounds great. The Tangerine, I mean, this is a just fantastic new switch. Now I wish I had inks to show you guys a comparison. I think that would be a really nice thing to show in this group here. I just don't have any to throw in here. So that's got a nice sound. All right, and this is the stock Panda. Spring crunch. All right, and then this is the Lubed Cream. That sounds great. The creams do sound really nice. They have that kind of characteristic swooshy sound, that leathery feel. It's very quiet, and I don't think it's a bad sound, but the housing itself is nice and deep. Here's the Lubed Tangerine to compare. So I'd say the cream has a bit more of a hollow sound. I think the Tangerine still sounds better. And then here's the stock cream. Very spring pingy. Yeah, definitely need to lube those springs if you get the creams. So of this group, definitely the Lubed Tangerine here sounds the best to me. Okay, so now here is the Invyr stem of the Tangerine. I'd say it kind of mutes it a little bit, so it takes away any of the sharpness of the sound. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe slightly lower pitched, but not much. Let's see, this is the yellow with the Invyr stem. a little bit higher pitched. Boy, the Tangerine sounds great. Here's the Zealios with the Invyr stem. The Invyr stem also has sort of an effect on the bottom out feel. Maybe it's just a different, like a softer kind of plastic. It feels, I don't know, I think that's what's contributing to it being, all of these being sort of somewhat more muted than the non-Invyr stem counterparts. That's a fairly quiet, well, relatively, I mean, it's not a silent, but it's a good deep sound. I don't know. I'm not sure what I think about that. That sounds pretty darn good there. I think that's my favorite of the bunch here, so I'm going to kind of use that as my reference. That's the Lubed Tangerine with the stock stem. All right, here's the Lubed Panda compared to the original. This is way more clicky and spring crunch, so it's definitely better. Still not a great switch. Boy, if you can make some holy pandas though, and you like that, man, I just built a set last night and they are, the tactility is great, but the sound is just outstanding. Alright, so this is the Cream with the Invyr stem. Still has that kind of hollow sound. I'm not sure what that's all about. Maybe it's something with the case or the keycap. So I'd say the Zealios here have the deepest pitch, but it's sort of a muted. There's nothing sharp at all about that. Now that's, I guess, a preference thing. The Tangerine is slightly higher pitched, but otherwise pretty similar. And here's the stock stem Tangerine. Zealios maybe have a little bit of a hollow sound. I don't know, maybe that one, of the Invyr stems, I think this one sounds the best, if you ask me. Yeah, I don't like that Panda. Alright, let's just do some slow. Alright, the stock Tangerine there has quite a lot of spring ping on that release. Same with the yellow. Still got a little bit with the Tangerine. It's mostly gone. Actually, that sounds decent with that Panda there. Yeah, spring ping and crunch. That's gone here. Yeah, the Invyr stem just seems like it's softer, so it just kind of mutes everything. Ugh. Yeah, the springs and creams are not the best. Okay, so if I had to just kind of give a summary of all these, lubed and filmed the new C3 Tangerine with the UHMWPE, hopefully I got that right, housing and the stock POM or POM stem. Outstanding switch. Great sound, unbelievably smooth, very little wobble, just outstanding. And then in terms of what to put the Invyr stems in, I would say if you have, this is the Gateron Yellow, milky housing, black bottom. If you have a full milky Gat Yellow, my guess is it would be somewhat deeper, and that would be a really good match, I think, for the Invyr stem. This one's not bad, but the pitch is not quite as low as the full transparent hard housing of the Zealios. It's a pretty different sound signature. So I think I would prefer the Invyr stem and the Zealios here. It's just the wobble is not great, so if you can live with the wobble, that's fine. And then the Cream. So wobble is better than with the Zealios. Pretty good sound signature. Not nearly as deep as the Zealios, but very smooth. It doesn't get rid of that characteristic feel of the Creams either. It just, I think, makes it smoother and better. You still have that kind of leathery feel. Very, very nice. For me, I think I'm going to leave my Creams as is. So that'll be this one here. I just think they're such a unique switch. I want to leave them that way. And then I've got some extra Zealios housings around, so I'm probably going to stick my Invyr stems and probably make these. I wish the wobble was better. I mean, it's filmed. There's not much more I can do about that. Maybe I'll find some Zealios V1 housings, and that might tighten things up. So that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and respond in the comments below. I'll try to respond to questions. Thanks a bunch. Hopefully I'll have some more content coming soon.